I think expecting too much from your sketchbook is silly. And by that, I mean, there's lots of videos out there that talk about, like, how to make your sketchbooks prettier. And I think that's silly. I mean, I get it. I used to carry around a sketchbook all the time when I was in high school. I never would let anyone look at it. It was my pride and joy. I filled it with drawings of my OCs and mini comics and full of like colored illustrations and like watercolors. And I would be so mad if anyone damaged it or took it or drew in it. I mean, it was like the only place where my art was really housed outside of like school assignments. And then I met Bones. And he drew all over it. He goes into my sketchbooks to this day, and he draws mustaches on all the faces. And I used to hate it, but now I don't care. So, I get why people want to fill their sketchbooks with, like, finished illustrations and masterpieces. Especially if it's, like, the only place where you have your artwork that's finished. It's really cool and impressive to show off. It's basically like having an art book, right? It's like your portfolio, all in one book, which I totally get. However, I don't think every single sketchbook you own should look like that. Or at least that shouldn't be the attitude behind every, like, sketchbook that you own. See, I've always seen sketchbooks as this place to, like, study and get out terrible ideas. If you watch my last video, I talked about, like, giving yourself permission to make terrible art. Well, it would always be in my sketchbooks. I mean, now it does kind of live in, like, files on my computer as, like, little sketches. But those are, like, basically a sketchbook on my computer. I digress. Right, but so sketchbooks are where I put all my brainstorming and cruddy doodles. It's a place to explore. And, like, it's a place where I don't want to put on appearances. I don't want to, like, pretty it up for people. It's kind of like, it kind of tracks my mood and where I'm at during that day. And, like, expecting myself to do, like, beautiful pieces of artwork every time, or finish every picture that goes into it, is really silly and, like, antithetical to what I see sketchbooks as. So, like, I fill my sketches with, like, stupid doodles and, like, memes and, like, life drawings and perspective studies, and then, like, I throw down thoughts and ideas, and, like, it almost acts as, like, a journal. Then Bones will take it and, like, fill it with mustaches everywhere. Because I think with sketchbooks, it's not really what's in the sketchbook that matters. It's, like, what you take away from them. It's everything you learned while having them that's important. So, like, if all my sketchbooks got burned, I'd be a little sad, but I'd still have all that knowledge that I got from studying in them. I'd also say, if you're a young person who's, like, going off to art college or art school, you know, like, when you're applying to those places, they want to see your sketchbook, and they aren't going to be looking for finished pieces, because your portfolio is where you put your finished pieces. Your sketchbook is where they see your process. So they're looking for how you study. Like, are you breaking things down and trying to understand them? Are you trying new things? Are you doing different attempts at stylization? Are you planning out those finished pieces that are in your portfolio? You know, all those things belong in a sketchbook, and they should be like the foundation for your finished pieces. They shouldn't all be finished pieces. I mean, one thing I love when I find someone's sketchbook, that sounds weird, not when they show off their sketchbook. I like to see how people think. Like, I like to see how different people observe the world and flesh out ideas, because it says a lot about a person, and it's so unique to every person, and, like, how their sketchbook functions really shows, like, their process, and that's so cool. And I think if you're really focused on, like, turning everything into this, like, super pretty illustration, you kind of lose some of that. However, all this aside, it's totally okay if you want to fill your sketchbook with finished pieces. I sound like I'm ragging on it super hard. I think it's just because I see so many people with this attitude. But if you have that attitude, that's okay too. If you want to treat it like an art book, as like a way to challenge yourself, go for it. Like I say in every video, like, you do you. But if you ever are, like, working on your sketchbook and you're super stressed out that everything has to look super pretty and your sketchbook isn't as good as everyone else's, maybe you need to reconsider what a sketchbook is for. Because sketchbooks are a place to explore and have fun with, like, no judgments. Except when you're applying to universities. They'll judge you. But, like, just be prepared. I guess. Anyways. Bones. Edit that out. See, now that as someone called out whenever I say, like, Bones, edit that out, I don't want to say it because I don't want to, like, I can't wait till I forget about it and say, Bones, edit that out. and it's funny again. I don't know. Oh, I'm kind of nervous about this video because I'm like, I don't want to tell people what to do with their sketchbooks, but I also do want to tell them what to do. But my anxiety is like through the roof. I don't keep sketchbooks a lot anymore. Like, I do have some, but I don't draw in them frequently. I think it's because I'm usually doing like work on my comics, and that eats up a lot of my time. And I do a lot of that like exploration and brainstorming like on the computer. It doesn't really go into a sketchbook anywhere. It's usually just kind of like the layers below the final piece, as in like, you know, my thumbnail and my sketch layer and my pencil layer and stuff on each comic page is kind of where that stuff happens. I do actually keep a sketchbook at like my day job because I do plan out a lot of illustrations where before I sit down and like create something in Illustrator or create something in Photoshop, I'll like sit down and do a bunch of like thumbnail sketches for what I want to do. I guess, you know, it's kind of a translation of what I do from comics. And at work, like, I don't really bring my tablet for some reason. I don't know. I just don't really like using it when I'm working in Illustrator, which is what I primarily work in at work. Working at work? Yeah. When I work with at my day job. So I find having just like a notebook or something is really handy. And they're usually just like lined journals. I think I'm like the weird one artist who doesn't really keep sketchbooks. But like, I like them when I have them, and I usually fill them with lots of studies. Anyways, those are my thoughts. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!